Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stone Protocol Show. Today we're going to have a conversation about how to have difficult conversations. So I've been having some amazing guests here on the show, and I've been talking to people who are conservative, people who are liberal, people who are religious, people who are spiritual. Haven't yet talked to any atheists. We will talk to Christians. We've talked to people who are Jewish. I'm going to be interviewing people who are Muslim. We're getting all walks of life. We're even going to be getting some Satanists. And now I know you're like, oh my God, what does that mean? Well, are we talking about Luciferian Satanism? Are we talking about LaVey Satanism? Are we talking about satanic ritual abuse Satanism? Probably won't have anyone on the podcast who administers satanic ritual abuse. If they do, there will be police here when they arrive because those people are evil, in my opinion, and we won't be having actual evil individuals. If we do, it'll be a setup and it'll be like a sting operation. So I don't know, I guess I just gave that away. I don't like satanic ritual abuse. I have clients who've been through it. It's really horrible. We'll talk about that in another podcast. And before we do that, we'll need to actually discuss here, you and I, the listener, and me, the host, what it is to have a difficult conversation. I've already had people on the podcast who have been challenging to me. I've handled it well. Some of those are live. I love you, Emily. She's going to be an upcoming guest for something very exciting I'm about to introduce. And I've had other people say, hey, I see that you've had a therapeutic dominatrix. I see that you've had a Baptist minister. I don't know if this podcast is right for me to be a guest. And I understand that. I want to tell you a brief story about why I'm doing this. So this podcast to me is multifaceted. One, I want to be able to share the accumulated wisdom and knowledge that I've learned over the past 40 years. I also want to actually facilitate, both for my own learning and edification, I'm learning so much from these conversations, but also for other people, facilitate communication between disparate groups of people that have some very different opinions. To be very honest, and I know that he's a charged figure, but Charlie Kirk, when he was assassinated, murdered, it actually really hit me very hard. I followed Charlie. I never saw him speak in person, but I listened to his clips almost every day on Instagram. Some people online said Charlie got what he deserved. People were literally saying that they were glad that he was murdered. He spoke about nonviolence. He talked about that we should have open dialogue. And so it literally breaks my heart to hear people, most of them are on the left, and I don't consider myself on the right or the left, to celebrate the murder, the assassination of someone whom they disagree with, that is a huge proponent, or was until he was killed, of nonviolence. And he repeatedly hit that key, nonviolence, nonviolence, nonviolence. And he was then assassinated. That day, and I remember seeing it on my Instagram feed, I was expecting him to honestly just kind of jokingly make fun of some liberal. I then saw a bullet go through his neck, whether it came through a lapel mic or a 308 from a nearby rooftop. To this current point, it's irrelevant. And we'll actually have someone on the podcast, Matt Patrick, again, hopefully with one of his colleagues, to really kind of break down that shot, because I'm still kind of up in the air of what happened. I think as many people are. When he died, I felt like it was this huge tragedy to nonviolence and to nonviolent communication. Charlie went to college campuses across the nation, speaking and talking and sharing his opinion and having open dialogue with people who ridiculed him on a just like daily basis. And instead of being reactory, and sometimes, sure, maybe he got a little riled up, he met them in that open place. And one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast and exposing myself, again, I've been canceled twice already, is to further and take up that torch of, I'm going to say less violent. I don't consider myself nonviolent. I'm going to say less violent. I don't like violence, but I'm happy to defend myself and others. And if you shoot at me, I will protect myself, and I have others who will protect me and my family. So please don't. But to have those conversations that are difficult, and then to learn, both myself, we're all present progressive, but learn the skills needed to have those conversations. So we're actually going to be bringing onto the show experts who know about these things. One of these experts, I'm not going to drop her name yet. She's one of my upcoming guests. She specializes in difficult conversations and nonviolent communication. And so you, the listener, are going to be able to learn with me and with others how to do these things even better. when we are truly grounded in our hearts, when we truly are also secure in ourselves and feel safe, we are able to be in a place of power. Again, the tagline of this podcast and my coaching program is that power is a love language. And when we truly love ourselves and are solid in that love and are able to give that love to others, we are able to do it in a powerful place and from a powerful place in a powerful way. And that power is not predation. It is not being predatory. It is not being extractive. We're not taking things. We're solid in our convictions, and then we are able to move forward in a healthy way. I'm going to share a quick story. The podcast hasn't even launched yet, but I did a podcast with Matt Patrick, a very close friend of mine, and I posted on my social media. And I had people comment on that directly to me and friends of mine. He is a pretty conservative Baptist minister. And again, he's a close friend. I do not agree with everything that he believes. He has some pretty conservative views about transgender and about homosexuality. And I don't share all of them. I share some of them, not all of them. And I was very clear in the podcast what I believe and what I don't believe. And we agreed to disagree on some of those major points, and then went to the gym together and hung out as friends, because it's okay. You don't have to agree with everyone, but you probably shouldn't celebrate their murder if they are assassinated. That's my personal opinion. And I see in our society this anger and this rage, and I get it. I have been an incredibly angry person in my past, filled with rage due to my sexual trauma in my past, my parents' divorce, being in the internment camp that was my junior boarding school, this, that, and the other thing. But when we don't have the skills to really go inside, heal our wounds, I use internal family systems therapy in my coaching, or technically coaching, internal family systems coaching, in my coaching program. And I have healed myself enough that when people attack me verbally and non-verbally, I'm able to not react from that reactatory place, but with power as a love language. And so I had a friend of mine who was upset that I interviewed a Baptist minister or Baptist preacher. And I said, well, you can judge him, judge him all you like. However, have you actually been to his church, The Well? And this person said, no, I've not. I said, well, why don't you go? And he goes, well, I hate him. Literally, boom, that's what came out of her mouth. I hate him. I said, well, I would encourage you to not have hate in your heart. And she said, well, but they hate people. I said, I don't think they do. I think actually they have very strong opinions and they stand by those opinions. They stand by those beliefs, but it's not about hate for them. They believe what is right and what is wrong, and they base so much of that on the Bible. You don't have to like that. I don't like a lot of that. I do believe that the vast majority of things in the Bible actually did happen, which is terrifying. Nephilim, the flood, Nebuchadnezzar, all of these things, Solomon, and we'll get into this. We're actually going to be having on the podcast an expert on the rapture. Maybe we'll get Peter Thiel, an expert on the Antichrist, apparently. I don't know. I don't think he has any interest in being on my podcast yet, maybe down the line. Either way, we're going to be learning about these things. So Matt Patrick and his community, they base much of their beliefs on the Bible. And my friend didn't like that. But instead of being open-minded and actually going to the Well Church, and I've been there, I think 4 times. And again, I don't believe everything that they believe, and everything that they say. When there's prayers that up on the screen, I sometimes in my mind have to change them because I literally don't agree with them, and that's okay. I don't need to. But when I look at their parish, and I look at their community, their smiling faces, their children are happy. There's husbands and wives, and it's a beautiful thing. And there's love in that space. It's a very controlled space, but because of that control and that safety, they've built something beautiful for them. And they're not, like Scientology, like press ganging people on the street. You say, all are welcome. If you want to believe what we believe, you can. If you don't want to believe what we believe, you don't have to. And they're verbal about it on social media, and they don't go in attacking people. They don't go out attacking people. My friend declined the offer, and I learned something about her. And I learned something about what it is to actually have an opinion and what it is to have a perspective. When we are so entrenched in whatever we believe without actually wanting to be introspective and not to be challenged, but just to learn, we're in a silo. And I see our society so filled with all these silos. When I think about what I can do, one individual, Lightstone, to try to make a difference, I can share my unique perspective. and I can act as a prism. Now, for those who have been following on social media, it's lightstone.media on Instagram. A couple days ago, I posted a little video where I was talking about how Yavel, who is the CEO of Let's Do Podcast, greenlit a new talk show that I'm going to be the host of. And so from this perspective, I'm going to be able to facilitate amazing conversations with people as this talk show host. I've recorded already here in this studio here in downtown Boulder, I think nearly like 50 videos. We've had some AV issues. I'm looking at my tech guy. It wasn't him. We've been having some growing pains here in this studio. But what we've created has been so beautiful together that when I pitched this idea to Yavel at Dushanbe Tea House, he instantly said yes. And it's going to be called the Prism by Lightstone. And I'm going to be hosting conversations, difficult conversations with incredibly interesting and maybe at times difficult people. And we're going to be leveraging our full open hearts and open minds, not necessarily to change anyone's mind. I don't like when people try to change my mind, but to learn from each other and to gain greater perspective. And that's what a prism is. So you take light in, and it's white light, and then you see all the multifaceted colors of that light. It's a rainbow, and that's just what we can see. There's also ultraviolet and X-rays, and those are things that we can't see. But when we look then through another form of prism, through a camera lens, we actually can start to see those wavelengths as well. There is so much around us that we are not aware of. But if we don't open our eyes, open our minds, and open our hearts to actually look at these things dead in the eye with an open perspective, a new, fresh perspective, we're not going to learn. Right now, there are riots happening all over in Minnesota. There are riots here in Denver. I had a friend of mine, he sent me a text of like, this is how you can riot in Denver. And I go, like, why are you rioting? Like, I'm curious, and it's this ICE stuff. And he goes, well, ICE has broken amendment, blah, blah. And I think he listed like 9 amendments that ICE has broken. And I said, there could be some amendments that are broken, but I don't think they've broken like 9 different amendments. That seems like, just like drama theater to me. I said, quote the amendments that you feel that they've broken. And he couldn't do it. I then went on a ChatGPT and I broke down the amendments. I said, hey, this is actually one of the amendments that looks like maybe search and seizure, breaking into a person's home, that could be in question, some due process issues, but it's not really like an amendment thing. Like, you can totally be angry about ICE. You can totally think that they're horrible. You can think that the police are bad too. You can think the military are bad. We're still waiting for the Epstein files. So I think the military is just the strong arm of our government, which is clearly corrupt. So I don't disagree in theory, but how we talk about these things and how we present these things out into the world is really, really important. The only response I got from my friend, and I actually don't even consider him a friend anymore. And if you're watching this podcast, bro, I'm very disappointed in you. Was, well, I'm going to exercise my First Amendment right to there was this chant where they're calling this person a cunt. And I was like, also, by the way, I don't think that that's okay. I don't think that just chanting, you are a cunt is healthy or helpful. I think that's gross. And I was like, dude, if that's who you want to be and what you want to do, you can go do that, but please leave me out of it. That's not the person that I choose to be and how I choose to show up in the world. Instead, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do this show. When voices like Charlie Kirk get assassinated and silenced, other people will stand up. And I encourage you don't have to make a podcast or make a show. If you want to, you should go talk to Let's Do Podcast. I can hook you up and get you a conversation with Yavel. He'll love that. They're growing. They're putting recording studios all across the country. But you can stand up with your heart. Stand up with your mind and try to kind of shirk off the cowl of propaganda that's all around us. When I think about the Charlie Kirk assassination, there's so much crazy stuff flowing around that. Was it this 308 from the rooftop? Was it, was there a dude tapping his shoulder to call the shot? Was it the lapel mic? Yavel, who is the CEO, is now becoming an incredibly good friend of mine, literally just greenlit my show. When I first met him and we discussed this in the first podcast that I aired, it's podcast 001. I was like, bro, like, are you Mossad? Like, is this a propaganda machine that you are creating for the Israel Defense Force? And he looks at me and he goes, no. He goes, I have friends who are Mossad. Like, of course I do, as special forces, but no, it's not. And I'm going to be honest, part of me is still like, I wonder how easy it would be for Mossad to then flip this entire company into that. That's the world we live in. Even me, so open-minded, where I'm like, man. And so I joke, I haven't joked with this particular tech because he's not Jewish, but I joke with Yehuda, who I also recorded a podcast with. I was like, hey, just be careful that podcast, or when you when we do the next podcast, careful lapel mic, man. Like if you're gonna do it, just make it swift, tune the back of the head. And he's like, Light, like that's not who we are. And I'm like, I'm just joking, but I'm not, because so many other people are having that emotion come up. We are so inundated on social media, and Mossad definitely does kill people. Our CIA kills people. So it's like these conspiracy theories are not theories, they are real. And we're not able to tell the truth from the lies and the half truths. And so that is one of the things that I am going to be doing, not only on this podcast, with the one-on-one interviews and the discussions with you, the listener, and then the discussions that I will be having with my actual guests, and then on this show, the Prism. So I invite you, please have an open mind. When you listen to these interviews, I'm not here to change your mind. I'm not here to convince you of something. My goal here is to help you open your heart. The entire purpose of everything that I'm doing on social media, everything I'm doing with my coaching programs, even my fitness. I mean, I post all these like flexing photos and I'm like, on social media. It's to open your heart. That's my goal. I try to come from this place of having an open heart and an open mind with very strong boundaries. And I encourage you to try and open your heart. When you open your heart, you don't have to do what someone else says. You don't have to be, part and parcel to whatever their ideological belief is, but you are true to yourself, and you're true to parts of yourself that I think are divine. And whatever your cosmology is, and we talk a lot about that on the podcast, have that spiritual sense of an open heart. That is what I invite you to do. And so please stay tuned for not only these upcoming interviews that I'm going to be having with people ranging all across the board. I've got some amazing bodybuilders coming up. I have one bodybuilder that I've been trying to message a bit on Instagram, who's a perfect example of this. I think she's incredibly liberal. Her online name is Lucifer is Watching. She's got this red motif. It's amazing. She's a tattoo artist, and she posted this story, and she's very, 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 very online, clear about her perspective on ICE. She hates them. And I want to have a conversation with her to understand where she's coming from. I also respect the shit out of her physique and her art. Absolutely amazing. And say what you will about Luciferianism, that specific brand of not Satanism, it's different, is very Promethean. And I'm going to take turn my hat or tip my hat to Georgiani, who I hope to have on the podcast. That light bringing attitude, that which brings light into the darkness, that is not a bad thing. And so the way that she's bringing light is very aggressive. One of her stories, she's got a front holster, and she's talking about how she's practicing with her concealed carry. And she's probably like, I don't know, 5'6", she's fit, but like, I'm 6 foot, 210 pounds. And she, pulling the gun and dry firing, boom, practicing. And like, I also had a concealed carry license. I also have a handgun. I know how to shoot guns, both long and short guns. And this young woman is very serious. And we need to have that seriousness. And we can bring that seriousness to these conversations and the conversations that we have with our friends, our families, our neighbors, our community, without letting our anger, our pain, and our fear, most importantly, get in the way. And so to her, I hope you come on the podcast. And to anyone else who's interested in having a conversation with me, even if it's just in DMs, please let me know. We have group coaching where we're going to be able to have conversations around these things. We're going to have this amazing live. Oh, I didn't mention this show's live streamed. So you will actually be able to engage with us. The chat will be real, and I will in a non-sarcastic Gen Z generational socio-lect, be like, what do you think about this, chat? Because literally the chat will be going. I've done a bunch of live streaming in my past with Dungeons and Dragons in my old company. My favorite was when I did PAX Prime. I did live streaming for like 4 days straight. I had a great time. People I was working with had no idea what they're doing, but that's okay. Everyone's learning. And so the show is going to really actually will involve you. And so you will have a voice here in the Prism as we help others shine their light out for clarity with the utmost goal of opening hearts and minds. So I look forward to talking with you more. We're going to have some great guests, both solo conversations on the podcast and then in this upcoming show. As of the recording date today, we're going to start recording very soon. Our first recordings for the Prism will be in February. It's when the new studio is going to be finished. And then we're going to be launching them, I think, a few recorded sessions first, just to kind of get our cadence, and then jump immediately into live streaming. Or we may just say fuck it and just start live streaming right off the bat, so you guys can kind of see how the proverbial prisms are made. It'll be a little messy, but it'll be fun. So I encourage you, with all of the things that are happening, the riots here in Denver, the riots in Minnesota, people hitting each other with cars, shooting each other with guns, please take a moment, take a deep breath and slow down. Feel into your heart. You can still feel into your heart and go punch a proverbial Nazi. I would encourage you to not do that. I would encourage you to, I think there are probably better nonviolent ways, but so long as you are connected to your heart, I do believe that you're going to make better decisions. I know this from experience, because in the past, when I have not been connected to my heart, my decisions and my outcomes were not great. And now that I've practiced this at 40, I have the experience to be able to tell you that if you can be grounded in this heart-centered space, you also can be strong, because power is a love language.